Imagine having to scan your face at like a TSA-style checkpoint.
Oh, man, yeah.
Right. Handing over your biometric data, your passport, letting a machine actually map your facial geometry, just to ask a chatbot to, summarize a PDF
Yeah.
or draft an email.
It sounds wild, but yeah.
Because as of this week, we are waking up to the reality that this might actually be the new cost of entry for frontier AI.
It is a radical shift. I mean, from the permissionless internet we are all totally used to.
Absolutely.
For the last several years, getting into the most advanced neural networks on the planet required, what, an email address?
A credit card, yeah.
Right, a credit card. And now the physical identity of the user is suddenly becoming the ultimate bottleneck.
And that bottleneck is currently, well, it's choking one of the most highly anticipated tech rollouts in history. We are exactly 7 days into this unprecedented global blackout of Anthropic's Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models.
A full week.
Yeah, a full week of completely dark servers. So today we are taking a deep dive into the underlying mechanics of this whole crisis. We're using the June 19, 2026 edition of the Tech Reader AI Digest.
Yeah, read it by Aaron Rose.
Right. Software engineer and tech writer Aaron Rose.
And Aaron's analysis in this digest is just essential right now because he cuts through all the noise, the vulnerability patches, the technical jargon.
The press releases.
Exactly. He frames this not as a software glitch, but as a violent collision between cutting-edge engineering, national security imperatives, and just ruthless market dynamics.
Yeah. So if you are an enterprise developer out there deciding which model to build your company's future on, or, just someone trying to understand why your premium AI subscription is currently a glorified paperweight, this deep dive is your definitive shortcut.
We're getting into all of it.
We really are. We are going to examine the real reason Fable 5 is still offline, the geopolitical backstory that led to this massive standoff, and how rival labs are aggressively capitalizing on this exact moment.
And we really should start with the ticking clock because the financial pressure on Anthropic right now is just immense.
It's unbelievable. It's day 7 of the blackout. Tomorrow, June 20 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern is the absolute final deadline for early subscribers to request a refund.
The ones who paid between June 9 and June 14th, right?
Right.
And the squeeze doesn't even stop there because just 2 days after that refund deadline, on June 22, the introductory pricing window officially slams shut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. After that date, Fable 5 is scheduled to shift to its standard, significantly higher subscription pricing. And attempting to enforce a price hike while your flagship product is literally totally inaccessible.
Yeah, that is a fast track to enterprise churn.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to, I think, the most crucial discovery of the week. Because the biggest signal about Anthropic's recovery strategy didn't come from a Commerce Department press conference.
No, it definitely didn't.
And it didn't come from a CEO's social media post either. It came from a very, very quiet update to Anthropic's Claude privacy policy.
Around June 16th, they updated the policy with an effective date of July 8, 2026. And the new category of data collection they introduced is, it's staggering for a consumer software product.
What are they asking for exactly?
They are mandating the collection of government-issued identity documents, photographs, facial geometry templates, and raw biometric data.
Wait, let's break down how that actually works, because facial geometry templates sounds like pure science fiction.
Right.
They aren't just asking you to snap a quick selfie, are they?
Far from it, no. They are integrating a third-party verification service called Persona.
Okay.
So mechanically, when you try to log in, Persona captures a live scan of your face. It measures the exact distances between your eyes, your nose, your jawline to create a unique mathematical template.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then it cross-references that geometry against the photo on your government ID to prove that you are, well, a living human and a verified citizen.
That is intense. And the source notes this applies to all Claude Free, Pro, and Max consumer plans. Though interestingly, enterprise and team accounts are currently unaffected by this.
That's right.
And they specified that this biometric data is strictly for verification, so it won't be stored on Anthropic servers or, used to train future models. But stepping back for a second, this completely changes the narrative of the last week.
Completely.
Anthropic didn't pull Fable 5 offline globally just because an Amazon researcher found a jailbreak vulnerability.
No, not at all.
They pulled it because they realized they had absolutely no infrastructure in place to guarantee who was actually using the model.
That is the core insight Aaron Rose highlights here. Because implementing a system like Persona, That isn't something you just do on a whim over a weekend.
Right.
The fact that Anthropic suddenly discovered how to roll out ID verification the moment their models were grounded by the government, it speaks volumes.
They had the code ready.
They possessed the engineering capability to build this compliance infrastructure from day one. They could have structurally ensured that foreign nationals couldn't access sensitive capabilities. They simply chose not to.
Wow. And now they are rushing to build the airplane while it's falling out of the sky.
Exactly.
And the prediction markets in the digest, places like Kalshi and Polymarket, they're pricing a 57% probability of a U.S. restoration before July 1st.
Yeah.
So if we look at that July 8 privacy policy effective date, it acts as a massive neon sign. This is not a global fix. This biometric checkpoint is the technical infrastructure for a U.S. citizens-only restoration.
Which leaves international users completely stranded.
Yeah, they're just out of luck.
The digest points out that a separate proposal to grant the United Kingdom an exemption completely collapsed this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that shut down the fastest potential path to an international rollout. Anthropic is effectively capitulating to the reality that playing in the high-stakes national security space means abandoning the whole ethos of borderless, frictionless software.
Right. But that transition from a borderless tech ethos to strict national security compliance, that doesn't just happen overnight.
No.
To understand why the Commerce Department reacted so aggressively to that initial jailbreak claim on June 12, we really have to rewind the timeline. Because Aaron Rose's reporting provides the backstory of Anthropic's relationship with the Trump administration and actually predates this current blackout by months.
It does. And looking at this timeline from the digest, it's vital that we, pull the politics out of the equation right now.
Absolutely.
We need to focus strictly on the mechanics of the standoff. Regardless of any personal views you might have on the administration's policies or Anthropic's ethical framework, we're just looking at the facts.
Right. Our goal is simply to map out that collision based strictly on the source material. We're not endorsing any side here.
Right. So the sequence of events reveals a fundamental breakdown in trust between a major tech corporation and the federal government.
Okay, so take us through early 2026. The Pentagon approaches Anthropic, right?
Yeah. They wanted a contract that would give the Defense Department broad access to Claude for, quote, any lawful purpose.
Any lawful purpose. Okay.
And Anthropic looked at the terms and just flat out refused.
Wow.
They declined the contract, publicly citing their foundational stance against allowing their technology to be deployed for mass domestic surveillance or autonomous weapon systems.
Okay, so they took a hard ethical stand, but the fallout was immediate and incredibly severe.
Oh, yeah.
Following that refusal, President Trump ordered all federal agencies to completely halt the use of Anthropic's technology, reportedly referring to the company's founders as left-wing nut jobs.
Yeah, but the real operational damage came shortly after that when Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth formally designated Anthropic as a supply chain risk to national security.
But wait, hold on. Assigning a supply chain risk label to a domestic American company, I mean, one of the premier AI labs in Silicon Valley, that is virtually unheard of.
It's massive.
That's a regulatory weapon almost exclusively deployed against foreign adversaries, right? Like Huawei or ZTE, to keep their hardware out of our telecom networks. Mechanically, what does that designation actually do to a software company?
It initiates a comprehensive procurement freeze.
Okay.
So the Defense Department was given a strict 6-month phase-out period to completely rip Anthropic technology out of the Pentagon's architecture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that means finding every single API key, every automated workflow using Claude, and severing it entirely.
So you're just gutted from the system.
Exactly. When you're labeled a supply chain risk, you aren't just losing a future contract. You are being actively eradicated from the government's entire technological ecosystem.
That is a staggering level of institutional retaliation. It's like a premier building contractor refusing to build a military bunker for ethical reasons, and the city responds by revoking their license to build anything at all.
That's a really good analogy, actually.
So, given all that, when the June 12 Export Control Directive came down and forced Fable 5 offline over that jailbreak vulnerability, wasn't the government just using the technical glitch as a convenient excuse to punish them? Was it just retaliation?
Well, Aaron Rose's analysis pushes back against viewing it as just blind political revenge.
Okay.
He frames it as the government responding to a clear behavioral pattern. In his view, Anthropic repeatedly operated as if they were a sovereign entity.
A sovereign entity, right?
Yeah. They functioned under the assumption that they were somehow exempt from standard national security obligations. So the government sees a company that, first, refuses to support defense initiatives, then refuses to cooperate with broad cyber defense protocols, and finally, at least in the administration's eyes, recklessly deploys a frontier model with an exploitable security flaw.
So the friction was already at an absolute boiling point.
Exactly.
The government didn't just suddenly get angry on June 12th. They had been building a case for months. When that Amazon jailbreak surfaced, the administration simply dropped the hammer they had been holding all along.
Precisely. The June 12 directive wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of a profound cultural clash.
Right.
You have Silicon Valley's traditional ethos of, we build the future, let us operate independently, violently crashing into Washington, D.C.'s reality of, you are building dual-use technology that is critical to global supremacy.
Yeah. Understanding that underlying friction completely changes how we view Anthropic's current scramble to collect IDs and biometric data.
They're essentially trying to retrofit a burned bridge.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But the most brutal reality of the tech sector is that while Anthropic's engineers are locked in these endless compliance meetings, designing facial scan protocols, dealing with Pentagon fallout, the rest of the market has not paused for a single second.
No, the AI market does not tolerate a vacuum. When a premium asset goes dark, the capital and the developers, they immediately flow elsewhere.
And OpenAI is positioning itself to absorb every single drop of that flow. Because the leaked specifications for OpenAI's upcoming GPT 5.6 are detailed in the digest, and they are practically engineered to be a direct strike at Anthropic's user base.
They really are.
The prediction markets are giving an 83% probability to a late June release. So sometime between June 22 and June 28. Let's look at the actual capability profile emerging from developer testing here, starting with a massive 1.5 million token context window.
Yeah, and to put that 1.5 million token context window into perspective, one token is roughly 3/4 of a word.
Right.
So we're talking about a model that can hold well over 1 million words in its short-term memory during a single prompt.
That's insane.
It is. That is the equivalent of uploading the entire Harry Potter series, plus the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and asking the AI to synthesize themes across all those books simultaneously.
Wow.
Yeah, it is roughly 43% larger than GPT 5.5's limit.
And alongside that, the specs show a 10 to 15% improvement in token efficiency. But, the raw capabilities aren't even the most lethal part of this leak. The true devastation for Anthropic lies in the projected pricing structure.
The pricing is brutal.
Because Fable 5 launched as an absolute premium product. It was $10 per $1 million input tokens and $50 per $1 million output token.
Right. And GPT 5.6, on the other hand, is projected to enter the market at roughly 1/3 of that cost.
A third.
Yeah. We're looking at $3 to $4 per $1 million input tokens and $15 to $20 per $1 million output tokens.
That kind of undercutting is just incredibly aggressive. It's like operating a high-end premium restaurant. A health inspector shuts you down for a week over some dispute. And on the exact day you are finally allowed to reopen and start charging your premium prices again, a rival opens a cheaper, upgraded location directly across the street.
The exact same day, yeah.
Right. Did OpenAI plan this to twist the knife, or is this just an incredibly lucky coincidence?
The digest suggests this might actually be the luckiest coincidence in tech history. Yeah. OpenAI has a highly documented, strict 6-week release cadence for these incremental models. They shipped GPT 5.4 on March 5 and GPT 5.5 on April 23. So a late June target for 5.6 was already baked into their internal roadmap.
Okay, so it was always coming.
Right. In fact, Aaron Rose notes that the release candidate was already visible in their Codex backend routing logs before the Anthropic blackout even occurred.
So it wasn't a deliberate ambush, but man, the timing is just an unbelievable windfall.
Massive.
Because you have to look at this from the perspective of an enterprise developer. They're sitting there watching their own applications fail because the Fable 5 API is completely dead.
Yeah.
Every single day they wait is a day their own products are broken.
And this touches on the whole concept of stickiness in enterprise software.
Right.
Switching AI models isn't just flipping a switch on a dashboard. It requires rewriting system prompts, adjusting your data pipelines, reevaluating the output quality. It takes immense engineering hours.
It's a huge lift.
Exactly. If a developer spends the next 2 weeks migrating their entire architecture over to OpenAI's lower-priced 1.5 million token ecosystem just to keep their business running, they are incredibly unlikely to spend the money and time to migrate back to Anthropic when Fable 5 finally comes back online.
Aaron Rose actually summarizes it perfectly. He says, Anthropic's hubris, Their insistence on operating like this sovereign entity has essentially handed the enterprise market to Sam Altman on a silver platter.
Yeah.
The real cost of picking a fight with the Commerce Department over a vulnerability isn't just the 7 days of lost subscription revenue.
No.
The real cost is that your customers are forced to build brand new habits with your biggest competitors.
So we are seeing that dynamic play out across the entire sector right now. It isn't just OpenAI.
Who else?
The Digest notes that Cohere is publicly reporting huge inbound interest from enterprise customers, actively searching for alternatives since June 12.
Wow.
You have XAI flexing immense capital by acquiring the AI coding platform Cursor for $60 billion. I mean, the whole infrastructure is shifting rapidly.
We even see it in the automated developer tools, right? Like OpenRouter.
Oh, yeah.
For those unfamiliar, OpenRouter basically acts as a digital switchboard for developers. So if you build an app, instead of hard coding a connection to just Anthropic or just OpenAI, you connect to OpenRouter, and it dynamically routes your request to whatever model is available or cheapest at that second.
Right.
And according to the Digest with Fable 5 offline, 61% of global OpenRouter developer API traffic is currently being soaked up by DeepSeek and Alibaba's Quinn.
Which is just a fascinating geopolitical irony.
Right.
The U.S. government forced an American model offline due to a vulnerability, and the automated architecture of the internet immediately rerouted the majority of that global developer traffic to Chinese-developed model.
It just bypasses it completely.
The ecosystem routes around the blockage, regardless of the underlying politics. Fable 5 launched to universal acclaim as the ultimate premium intelligence. Today, it is effectively a paperweight, while the rest of the world scales up.
It's crazy. And all of this brings us to the ultimate synthesis here. What does this mean for you, the listener? Whether you are an executive managing a tech budget, a developer writing the actual code, or just someone fascinated by where all this technology is heading, the paradigm for evaluating AI has fundamentally changed this week.
Yeah, you can no longer make decisions based purely on mathematical benchmarks.
No.
You can't just look at a model's coding scores on a leaderboard or its token efficiency or its context window. You are now forced to deeply evaluate a company's geopolitical risk profile and their compliance infrastructure.
You have to know how they manage their relationship with Washington, because the events of the last 7 days prove that the most sophisticated neural network in the world means absolutely nothing if the company's geopolitical strategy just completely collapses.
Exactly.
Fable 5 didn't fail because the engineering was flawed. It failed because the politics became completely untenable.
And that leaves us with a final, I think, really profound question to consider long after this deep dive ends.
Yeah, what's that?
If Anthropic's July 8 privacy policy update actually becomes the new industry standard, if the only way to query a top-tier frontier model in the United States requires handing over a live facial scan and a government ID to a third-party verification API,
Right.
what does that mean for the era of the anonymous internet?
It is a staggering thought.
Are we quietly, amidst the chaos of all these server blackouts and competitive benchmarks, entering an age where accessing advanced intelligence requires the exact same level of identity surveillance as opening a bank account?
Yeah.
And if that becomes the baseline, how does that fundamentally alter human curiosity, privacy, and free expression?
The internet, as we have known it, is being actively re-architected right in front of us, and it's masked as a simple update to a terms of service agreement. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the reality behind the Fable 5 blackout. Keep questioning the headlines, examine the compliance structures behind your favorite tools, and we will catch you next time.